medication for body and mind. So Becca, over the past 12 years, Becca has had a mission to encourage people to become organically in tune with their minds and bodies. She has a diploma in marketing, is a registered massage therapist, and an experienced yoga teacher, and is a holistic nutritionist. In 2006, she established a yoga studio called Divine Health. It's located in St. Albert, and that's where I met Becca. Since then, she has taught motivating, exciting, and dynamic yoga sessions, trickled with humor, which you'll find out today, and fun in a yoga studio and on YouTube. Each yoga class is creative and authentic. Her style intertwines physical movement and deeper aspects of mental yoga. Becca has taught yoga internationally and offers yoga retreats and teaches trainers. And Becca also has a blog, and she also offers yoga sessions on that. And you know, my friend Maureen, when she can't make it to yoga, she always uses that as well. So I'd welcome Becca.
Hi there. I think I'm going to have to lift this up a little bit. Okay, we'll do that there. Thank you, Sylvia, so much for that introduction. I realized it was a little bit lengthy, so I apologize about that. So I do want to take a moment just to say how absolutely grateful I am to be here today to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is yoga. This day is entitled, It's All About You. And when I heard that that was the actual theme of the day, I thought, you know what, that's awesome. Because we all need to start empowering ourselves to take back our health and our wellness. So I too am a healthcare practitioner. As mentioned, I've been a massage therapist for over 12 years. I've been a yoga teacher for 8 years, for 4 years a holistic practitioner. And it is an absolute struggle to constantly be finding time for myself. On top of all of that, I opened up a studio in 2006. And so it definitely is a full-time gig, the responsibility 24/7. Now, one more thing, when you step into my yoga studio or into the wellness center, I've got a fabulous yoga studio, so it's a really nice little space. We have a fitness facility into the back. I've got 3 other massage therapists to call on to do trades every month. That one would think that I am the most relaxed, calm, settled individual that you would ever meet. Now, I'm going to say that I am, but if you were to talk to my husband over there who's videoing, he would say, not at all. So I'd like to really talk honestly with you today. Like, I struggle. I struggle a lot to find time for myself, as I'm sure that all of you do here today. It's always that combination of how much do you help other people and how much do you help yourself. The one thing, just got another microphone sliding towards me, it wants me to talk double. The one thing that I am really, really good at is telling other people what to do. Yeah, like I can tell anyone anything, and I feel like I'm right. I feel like, you know, this is what they should do on a daily basis. What I actually need is to listen to my own advice and to have me tell me what to do, right? Yes, cheers, exactly. The fact is that if I don't move on a regular basis, my body becomes ridiculously tight. Like, I'm not one of those yoga teachers that can, you know, flop into a back bend or touch my toes really easily. It is hard work. But also, if I don't take time away from the computer, from my phone, from my work environment, my mind is just a little bit crazy. And by a little bit, I mean a lot of it. So yoga is one of those disciplines that makes me feel whole. Over the past 9 years, I've come to realize that yoga is my medication. Just like when I pop a pill, if I have a headache, yoga, and it works within, you know, half an hour, and you feel a little bit better. I find that yoga, when done on a regular basis, it like builds up in your body. So when I need it, what I'm able to do is to tap into that. It's like our bodies really want to be relaxed and chilled and healthy and whole. But if we don't do things to have that happen, there's no memory for it. And so I like to take my daily dose of yoga. From my experience, I want to share with you some specifics as how yoga has positively affected the mind and the body. Some of them you might be familiar with, and some of them might surprise you, or at least maybe draw you onto the yoga mat. So I'm breaking this up into two specific points. One is specifically about the body, and the other will be specifically about the mind. And so under the body, I've got a few different little categories, and under the mind, a couple as well. So under the physical body, the most common statement that I hear from my new yoga students is that I am the most inflexible person in the world. Well, since I've heard that from almost everybody, I am positive that everyone can't be the most inflexible person in the world. But when I started yoga 9 years ago, I seriously thought that I was the most inflexible person in the world. I used to run track. I would go to the gym all the time. In fact, I now call myself, well, I used to be a gym rat, you know, that's a nice name. And when I was told to do a forward fold in one of my first yoga classes, this is exactly what it looked like. I was like, you're kidding me, right? You want me to touch my toes? I can barely touch my knees. So it was very challenging for me. I had super tight hip flexors. My quads were totally overused. My hamstrings were screaming at me. My low back was on fire constantly. And so when they said, no, 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 don't bend from your waist, bend from your hips, I was like, oh, okay, I'll try that next time, I guess. It just didn't seem to be computing. With the muscles and the joints, as a massage therapist, I see so many people who are either suffering from real injury, maybe they had a motor vehicle accident, maybe they have repetitive strain with their job, which I'm sure that some of you can relate to. I actually see a lot of nurses for massage therapy. But also I see super active people, or I'll say weekend warriors, that you know, whether they're playing group sports or possibly they're out and about jogging or running, that they're making their bodies a bit more compressive. So there's some joint injuries, there's some muscle strains and that type of thing. But long before yoga, I was always an advocate of stretching. And so just like a physio, part of what I do is mostly therapeutic massage. So I would talk to my patients or clients and I would say, give them some stretching that they need to do after the massage, because I'm seeing them once a month. And what they would do is, I would assume every day be doing the stretches that I told them. Seems obvious to me, right? This is clearly what they want to do. So the next time I would see them, I would say, okay, so have you done your stretches? Absolutely, Becca. Look me straight in the eye. Absolutely, I've done them. Okay, so get on the table. So I start palpating. So have you really done your stretches? Well, like, I try, and yeah, mostly I do. I'm going to ask you one more time. No, I haven't done any of my stretches. I can tell. As I'm rubbing their muscles, it's so clear that nothing has been going on. The fact is, as you all know, that the body, to be healthy and whole, absolutely needs to move. There is this fine dance between flexibility and strength, right? Putting your head on the floor may not be your goal in a yoga class. It is not my goal in a yoga class. But the fact is, it's real life stuff. So let's just say you have kids and you want to sit down and play with them, but it takes you 5 minutes to do that. That's not great. We want to be able to squat and go there with our children, right? Or let's just say it's very, a very common thing that happens, you drop a pen on the floor. If you lean over, oh, okay, that didn't feel very good. And instantly you strain yourself. But I'm telling you, way more important than that is what if there is a wine glass on the top shelf that you absolutely need, and you are stretching and you are straining to get that wine glass, and your arm will not allow you because the joint and the muscles are just not flexible. Like, that is real stuff, you know? So here we are, right? We want to have the whole body stretching for real life scenarios. As you know, the joints in the body need to be lubricated and they need to have space in order to be healthy. Very important. Many times we think of exercises like running or jogging or maybe weekend sports that you would play or any type of non-competitive that we'd probably be into at this stage, and they're compressive. It's not that there's not a place for them, but a lot of times I have, for instance, a triathlete that will come in or someone who's even just working on running a 10K and their joints are absolutely bothering them because it's this all the time. So yoga is primarily meant to create space in the body, to open up areas. A lot of the movements that you'll see are extensions. It's almost like you're on the rack. Your arms are up, your legs are down, and you're pulling everything apart to create this openness. So I want to illustrate this here. So all of you are sitting, and very interesting postures, I might just say. But you're relaxed, right? So let's go with it. So let's turn. Just stay exactly as you are. If you have your legs crossed or whatever you have, just turn towards the right side. Like not just your head, but your whole body. Just exactly the way you are. Okay? And then come back to center. And go towards the left. Okay. And come back to center. So most of you moved your head more than anything, right? It's like go to the right. Go to the left. Okay? So let's try something a little bit different. Uncross your legs if they're crossed. Maybe pull yourself just a little bit away from the table. Yeah. If you can, some of you are tiny, so your feet don't really touch the ground. But some of you have your feet rooted. So if you can, uncross, yeah, see, I'm staring at your legs. Uncross them. Plant down your feet in towards the floor. And if you can't, because you're going to be slouching, sit up tall and just be on your tippy toes on the ground. And then sit up really tall. Oh my God, you guys look awesome. So we're inhaling, okay? Now most of us have handles, right? Onto the chair. So grab onto the handle. Sit up tall, inhale. And exhale, pull. And twist towards the right-hand side. Try not to lead with your chin, lead with your chest. Good. Come back to center, inhale. And then sit up tall, inhale. And as you exhale, go over again towards left side. And then come back to center. That's a lot better. So what we find is that when you twist or when there's movement in the joints, if you open up the joint, you have a lot more mobility, which means a lot less injury. When you compress, you literally squeeze your joints together, rubbing them, yeah? And so what happens is there's little mobility. Always trying to open up and create that spaciousness is one thing that yoga will definitely help you with. Also underneath the physical body is my second point of balance. One would think that this comes really naturally to people. No, it does not. I teach a range of ages, all the way from early adult to senior citizens, and it is the most uncomfortable thing that people generally do in yoga. And the question is why? Because we don't do it? When's the last time you stood on one leg? Besides a yoga class. Come on, you guys do it brushing your teeth, don't you? I'm sure of it. No, not at all. Exactly, right? So what happens is that when we don't have balance, injury is going to happen. It just absolutely is, because we can't catch ourselves in that moment. So whether you're walking off, and this is such a general example, but I actually have people that this happens to on a regular basis. You misjudge a step. You think, well, that's okay, I'll back up. You have a step that you think is this high, but it's this high. Or you have a step that's this high, and it's this high. And you know what happens? You step off, and you might roll. And some people who have a little bit better balance can catch themselves. Others take it to the ground. And their hips and their shoulders, and heaven forbid, bam, you hit your head. I mean, you guys have probably seen it, right? So what happens is we need that balance. Think about ice. We live in an environment that has, what, at least 10 months of snow? I'm positive about this. What's with that? Anyway, what do you do there? It just irritates the hell out of me. But, so here we are with a lot of ice on the ground. I slip constantly, but it's how you recover that determines your injuries. If you can recover a little bit gracefully, maybe you won't come crashing to the ground. But when we balance, we end up using all the little small and large muscle groups, which of course just aids us in being a lot more stable. So So number 3. This is another, besides yoga, this is one of my really favorite topics. And it's poop. It is. I talk about poop a lot, I gotta be honest with you. So there are a lot of my clients, ooh, that caused a stir. She's been talking about poop in my back. A lot of my clients suffer from poor elimination, and I definitely did as well, for sure. So there's several things that help with that, of course, right? We need to drink a lot of water, we need to eat a high fiber diet, and you know, give yourself a little bit of time in the morning or whatever it normally happens so that your body actually feels relaxed and you can actually do it. But I really think we can learn a lot from Eastern cultures. So I've traveled a lot to the East, and actually I'll just show you something here. So this is called, oh yeah, stand up if you want to see this stuff. This is called a yogi squat. You know what I call it? A poop squat. The reason being is that anytime you bring your knees in towards the chest, you aid elimination like nobody's business. And so it's really key that we allow our bodies to digest. Now yoga gives us that opportunity. When was the last time you just brought your knees into your chest for shits and giggles? Right? We don't ever do that, really. So in yoga, if you brought your right knee into your chest, actually there's a pose called wind removing pose, and sometimes it does happen. I've learned not to laugh in those situations. It's very hard for me because I think pooping and farting is very funny. So I'm just like, and anyway, moving on to the next side. But anyway, if you bring right knee in towards your chest, you're moving through the ascending colon. If you take your knees into your chest, you're moving through transverse colon. If you take your left knee into the chest, you're moving through descending colon. And you and I know that when you have bigger, better poops, it's okay, you can laugh, it's fine. We have way less toxicity, right? And so a lot of people who have poor elimination habits end up having things like headaches, bad breath, arthritis can set in. You end up feeling just this overwhelming sense of blah. I've seen people who have skin rashes because their toxicity is so high. So we really need to be moving in such a way that we have full elimination. Yoga works with your natural rhythms. So if you're ever in a yoga class where you're moving left to right, go right to left. You don't want to back yourself up, right? Okay. My number 4 point underneath the body is, I just gotta say, I might be really sensitive to this issue because I've been practicing yoga for so long, but do we not all have possibly the worst posture you've ever seen? Like really, I mean seriously, it's really quite terrible. So yoga movements are helped to recreate the natural curvature in the spine because this is what most of us look like. Bum tucked under, chin forward, and shoulders straight. It's a good look. And then we walk. Right? This is what we look like, super attractive. Can you imagine if I walk up the stage like this? You'd just be like, what is up with her? Yeah. So it's really bad. I mean, it absolutely collapses out any type of pec muscles. We're constantly tucking our tail so that we flatten out the lumbar curve, right? But a regular yoga practice allows you to build your own natural body back to where it's supposed to be. Now, of course, that's assuming no bony changes have taken place. But when you're constantly rolling back your shoulders neutrally, bringing in your chin to settle earlobes over shoulders, shoulders over hips, hips over knees, knees over ankles, it's easy. Your body doesn't have to work so hard. We shouldn't constantly feel like straining. I have a few clients that really struggle with sitting upright. It hurts them. It's easier to roll the shoulders forward and kind of settle in because their muscles are so pre-programmed to be like that. We need to have the spine in its neutral position. It's so key. It is amazing for things like just standing for a long period of time. So you don't feel like you're constantly struggling to be there. Even your gait will change. And so yoga can help with finding that equilibrium for you. Moving on to a bit more of the mental side of yoga. So this is really my second point to all of this. In yoga philosophy, they talk a lot about the mind being like a monkey. And when you think about this, it's really quite accurate. This concept of having this monkey jumping from tree to tree, from limb to limb. And I know that we see monkeys in zoos, so you have an opportunity to know what one looks like. But I have actually been around real monkeys in India last year, and I was nearly attacked by one. So I was up near a temple, and I was coming down. It was a beautiful day, and it was early morning, so it wasn't too warm, and I was with my husband, who was a few steps behind. I'm usually running around doing something. And I noticed that there was a lot of different monkeys, and they're quite large. Like, these ones are monkeys, you know. They're actually on the evolutionary trail to becoming men. So this one is standing there. I'm assuming it was standing. I don't know. And it looked a little youngish. All assumptions once again. And it stared at me. And now we were told, do not bring anything that can entice the monkey. Okay, so I have no camera dangling down. I don't even have sunglasses on. I have nothing. But I do have sort of those side purses, quite a large one that I bought in India, and it was full, but there was no food or anything in there. And I'm walking down, and they're quite long stone steps, and so I don't really notice until I'm just a few feet away that this monkey's not moving. And usually the monkeys do move. They kind of scatter, and they'll watch you with their wide eyes. And this one just kind of sat there and was like, yeah? You want to pass, do you? Yeah, kind of do, but don't really know how to go about doing this. So I take another step forward, and this monkey looks at me and starts to come back as if it's going to pounce on me. Now, I've seen enough National Geographic. I know what's going to go down. And yet, I'm thinking to myself, I've never fought a monkey before. I have no idea what to do. And the first thing I thought of, cover your face, cover your face, cover your face. So I instantly recoiled because I thought, you know, attack my body? I don't really know. It was just one of those moments. And it started to spring up. And just like crazy madness, this older monkey, it had kind of a lot of hair, I just assumed it was older, and bigger, came literally running, I didn't do this, but it was very close, came running out of the bushes and slapped, swatted, pushed this younger monkey out of the way. I'm telling you, I almost relieved my bowels at that moment. I was just like, this is crazy, you've got to be freaking kidding me. And then the monkey was like, please, continue on. This is great, this is good. So the fact is, this younger monkey was mischievous, it was curious, and it was bored. Does that sound like something you have in your head? It's called the mind. The mind is constantly working on a whole bunch of different levels. And it's amazing to me how we can talk ourselves into something in one moment, and within 30 seconds, you can talk yourself out of something, right? It's pretty hard in the yoga practice to focus on lists, to focus on that multitasking mind when you're moving, flowing, and breathing. It allows that craziness, if you will, to settle. It really does. And sometimes you might not notice it on your first time. You might not even notice it on your second time. But by the third or fourth time that you come in and you get a little bit more familiar with the breathing, that becomes the focus. And even if you pick up that mind after class, at least you've had an hour of, we all need a little bit more of that. So naturally, I, just by nature, am an anxious person. So when I first came to yoga, that was one of the biggest things that I noticed started to reduce for me. It's really hard for me to shut down my mind. It's just constantly going. I have so many thoughts in my head that if I don't get them out, you know, I take them out on Greg, and he knows, he's like nodding his head, yes, she's got a lot going on there. It's really difficult for me to turn it off. I've got a little bit of the what if scenarios, well, what if this happens, what if that, and I've also got the, in the past, oh, if I said that differently, would that have been a different outcome? Maybe if I wouldn't have been so, you know, and I replay scenarios constantly in my head. So that's where I get this feeling. My heart rate picks up, my sympathetic nervous system goes a little bit crazy, I start to sweat, I feel like running. It's quite difficult at times. But things like anxiety, worry, and fear do dissipate as you start to practice yoga through pranayama. And that's like, what, yama? It is breathing. It is controlled breathing techniques that we use in the practice to allow ourselves to find a little bit more equilibrium. It's not a cure, but it certainly is something that aids us. It's like, how many tools do you want in your belt? Well, I want a whole bunch so that I can draw from what in that moment, what I need. Really, really key. So, I want us to go through some subtle breathing techniques, just very simple, because I think we could all use a little bit of relaxation. And so this one, we have to work together on it a little bit so that we're comfortable, okay? I'm not going to tell you what it's called, but I'll just show you. Okay. Are you ready? So this is just a demo. This is just a demo. Oh yeah, get ready. It's happening. It's happening right now. Okay, so take an inhale. Half of you didn't do it. It's not actually a yogic breath. I just wanted to see who would actually do it. No, it is. It's called lion's breath. Okay, so we're going to do this 3 times. But what you can do is close your eyes. Now, generally, you try and get your eyes like as open as possible and your tongue as low as possible because we all carry so much tension in our jaws and our cheeks. I mean, you think about it, as you're working, just subtly check in once in a while. Are you clenching your jaw?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are, because that's what most of us do. And that causes tension all the way down through the neck and into the shoulders, and we wonder why we've got that crazy posture that we're talking about, right? So you can close your eyes with this and focus mostly on the mouth if you like. But I will be watching all of you to see who's doing it. Okay? So, take an inhale. Two more. Yeah, let it go, who cares? Very nice. I feel like you only took pictures of me while I was doing that. Did you? Because I really don't think that was happening. No? Okay. A little bit? Okay. Please, can I? No, still not? Okay. So that's lion's breath. I absolutely... I just needed something different than that. That was not going to work for me on the internet. What is she doing? So this technique is very simple. We could call this bottom-up breathing, and really, literally, we are breathing into our bottoms. 5-part breathing technique. We could call it pelvic floor breathing. But it's a really simplistic way of driving breath down into the base of your body. Most of you know that when you breathe, we're generally breathing through chest, and that causes a lot of issues. It's almost like an anxiety breath, right? Hyperventilate. We want to try and bring the breath down a lot deeper and elongate it so you can even feel it in your back ribs. Breath is not simply isolated to opening up the belly. It's actually meant like an umbrella to flare and even drop the pelvis a little bit to relax the muscles there. And then as you exhale, you gently pull things in so that you can actively participate in your breathing. It's called conscious breathing. And when we do that, it's amazing what can happen for things like anxiety, depression, fears, and worry, okay? So let's bring our feet back to the floor. If you can cross your legs, that'd be great. And just sit back. I mean, it's great. You've got the chair, so you can actually feel your back being a little bit straighter. Shoulder blades rolled back. And close your eyes here. Yeah. Just take a moment and start to notice your own rhythm of the breath. You might find already that you're quite open and relaxed. We've been laughing a little bit, so the breath might have come a bit deeper. Maybe you can even hear your heartbeat. Check in with your eyes. Are they heavy, or are you squeezing them together, or are you relaxed? Letting that space between your eyebrows open up a little bit. Checking in with your jaw. If you can, keep your lips together, but your teeth a little bit separate. Let the shoulders fall gently away from the ears without actually pulling them down. And as you sit up tall, allow yourself to inhale slowly, almost like you're pouring water into a glass, and so it'll fill up from the bottom to the top. You might not feel like it's going anywhere right at this moment, but take a few more tries with that and see how deeply you can bring the breath. And when you're exhaling, choosing to almost, it's a very subtle pulling up of the pelvic floor. I don't really want to say a Kegel, that's a bit too aggressive, but it's a gentle lifting. And your belly pulls in slightly, and the breath moves out from your nostrils. So when you inhale, you start to feel as if you're opening from the bottom all the way to the top, so you can feel a bit of expansion through the pelvic floor, opening through the belly. Your heart subtly lifts. The collarbones open, and the shoulder blades roll back. And as you exhale from the bottom up, you allow that contraction gently to start to push the air out from the belly to the rib cage, to the chest, and out through the nostrils again. Do that one more time on your own, and I'll be quiet. When you've done your last exhale, just let your eyes flutter open to your knees, and just pause for another little breath. Nice. And let your gaze come back up. You guys gave me goosebumps, that's awesome. The change in the energy was palpable. I could feel it. Yeah, nicely done. At the end of every class or speech, we put our hands together into Anjali Mudra, or a prayer. And I say namaste, and that means the light in me salutes, recognizes, and sees the light within all of you. So to all of you today, for kindly listening to me, namaste. Namaste. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Does anybody have any questions for Becca related to yoga? No? I actually have one question, because I started yoga a couple of years ago, and that's my daughter inspired me to do that. And I do one of Becca's class, not Becca doesn't teach it, but I go on a Saturday morning, and it's for people with sore hips, knees, whatever, so it has opened me up a lot. It's fantastic. My friend has terrible arthritis in her spine and her neck, and it took me, probably 8 months to get her to go to yoga. And she's been going now, I'd say, probably about 8, 9, 10 classes, and it's opened her up. She's fabulous, a lot better now. But the question I get asked a lot from some friends is they're a bit nervous about going to yoga because every time they bend down, don't you fart? And I fart all the time, but I definitely don't fart in your yoga class, so go for it. I enjoy it.
So what's your question? Do you fart in yoga?
Yeah.
Is that your question?
Yeah, that's what they ask.
I'd like the mic for this one. Yeah, you're going to fart in yoga. So this is the thing about understanding the human body is when you're pressing on it, there's air in the colon that a lot of us, because of toxicity and because of core elimination habits, are not ridding ourselves up on a regular basis. Usually, if you can, we recommend it, especially if you're doing any type of asana, which means you're doing more of the movement style of yoga, not just meditation. You really need to watch when you eat. So chances are, if you're eating too quickly before you go, things are still digesting and percolating, right? So generally an hour and a half to 2 hours, or if you absolutely need to eat because of maybe some medical issue, it's better to eat like something really small that's not going to ferment. Fruit I actually don't usually recommend because that can cause people to become quite gassy. So more like a little granola bar or a little protein bar or something along those lines. And but yeah, I mean, heck, if you've got a fart, rock it out.